Welcome to Tactical Truths, the playlist where we bring you the latest military news, tactical analysis, and stories that matter most to our community. Hit subscribe and join us for sharp insights and frontline perspectives. I'm Phil Campion, former UK SAS, and this is the Tactical Truth. This week on the Tactical Truth, a young British teenager, 18 years old, has been taken out by a drone. Now, I'm not here to challenge why he went. I'm not here to say if he was right or he was wrong. And I'm certainly not here to discourage or encourage anybody else who wants to take themselves down a similar route. What I am here to do is to try and pick through this story and give you the absolute truth as I see it, so that if potentially you want to make your decisions or what you want to do with your life, well, having watched this, you might just either change or confirm your mind, depending on what I've said. So to that end, I think this is a fairly important one for me because I just need people to realise that it is a very, very dangerous, volatile environment, and it's not a PlayStation. You don't respawn. You don't play this and come back if it goes wrong. All right? So I'm going to debrief this in such a way that you understand the realities of what is going on out there. Okay, James Wilton, 18 years old. No former military experience, has decided he's going to go to Ukraine, join their interpretation of the Foreign Legion and fight alongside people, some who've seen many hours of combat, some who've seen no combat, some in the same situation as him. That was his choice. That's what he decided he wanted to do. Let's have a quick let's have a quick look at some of the footage emerging. Let's have a quick look at some footage.
A British teenager has died in a terrifying Russian drone hunt minutes into his first ever combat mission on the Ukraine front line. Foreign Legion volunteer James Wilton was just 18 when he died of appalling wounds after being chased by 3 of the killing machines.
So there you go. I think you'll all agree this is an extremely sad story. His first mission, which again highlights the actual truth here. You know, there's no given. There's no, you're going to have a warm-up. There's no sort of like easing yourself into war. It all too often can come down to your first trip outside of the wire where it goes wrong. Sometimes you don't even get outside the wire. Stuff comes in, all right? It is, and I'm going to alliterate this a few times during this, it is an extremely dangerous, real environment. I can't say that, and I can't say that too many times. Okay, I'm sure that he had his reasons. I'm sure that in his own mind he wanted to make a difference. I'm sure that he thought he was doing the right thing, or another thing I'm sure of, he wouldn't have gone.
I've spoken to an American Foreign Forces soldier who was with the young Brit when he died. He told me how the drones herded panicking soldiers close together in a bid to boost their kill count before zeroing in on tragic James. And the rookie recruit who had joined Ukraine's foreign force just 4 months earlier stood no chance. The American soldier called Jason, who we can't identify, spoke movingly yesterday as he told me how his British best friend died in his arms.
So we're going to have a look at his best mate over there, who obviously didn't know him for that long. He's a 21-year-old. He's an American. He's been over there. He's seen a little bit. He's in a rehabilitation state himself at the moment. And as you'll see from the footage that we've got here, he's had a leg missing. He's seen a bit of action. His legs come off. I very much doubt if he'll be returning to the front line. So he well and truly knows the risks that are being posed and taken by people out there.
With my friend, at least, James, I had just known him for about 4 or so months. 4 months. Yeah. It was a very short relationship. Yeah. However, because he was so young, and because, you know, he was at that age bracket, you know, young adults, you know, even that goes all the way to maybe mid-20s or something, where he thinks, I'm not doing much with my life, whatever, I want to help out, I want to do something bigger for myself or for the greater good. He was very on the nose.
Okay, so they're sort of like, he's thinking he's moving on to something greater. Personally, you know, we've got an army back home, which would absolutely welcome young people, open arms, recruitment problem and all that sort of stuff. You're being like Flynn. And the chances are, you know, you're going to end up at some stage in your career in combat and doing the right thing. for me, that's an option, isn't it? That's an option. For this young man, sadly, he's decided to go a different way. He's basically trying to get straight to the front line, which ultimately he has.
It was about wanting at least his actions to be impactful.
Yeah.
So it really resonated with me thinking, well, here he is, he's 18, even though he's not fully developed yet. Me, either being only 21, I felt like a sense of paternity, more like a little brother, I suppose.
Yeah, right.
A lot of us felt that way towards him because he was.
I'm going to say at 21, he's still a young man himself, and that shows the sort of like turnover in these places that he should be in a position at the age of 21 where I think he runs this squad, or he certainly runs the squad that was out that day.
He was very young, as I mentioned, but he was also very, very well versed in knowledge about tactics, gear, all that stuff.
You trained soldier?
Okay, so he's saying that this young man was very well versed in tactics and gear and all that sort of stuff. And all right, I don't want to challenge that he wasn't, but what I am going to say at 18 years old, with no formal training in the military, how much are you actually going to know? You can read, you can watch stuff on TV, but nothing beats a proper foundation. And when I speak to young soldiers nowadays, the foundation is the thing that tees you up for your whole military career. You need to get that right. Special Forces soldiering, indeed, is the basics done well, and then you progress and carry on. He's had no foundations in his career.
Was he trained? No, he was not. He was just a civilian volunteer, like I was.
So there you go. Confirmed. Wasn't a trained soldier, was a civilian volunteer. All right. And you could argue with me and people, well, yeah, Phil, if you go into any army in the world, you're a civilian volunteer until you've been through basic training. This geezer's only known him for 4 months, so he couldn't have gone through that comprehensive a training package because they need people on the front line. All right. So whatever training he received, and from whoever and wherever, I don't think it would have been enough. I genuinely don't. And don't forget, this is an evolving battle place. This has got all sorts going on. And we're going to touch on what was going on the particular day that he died. But it's a lot going on. A lot of stuff.
He was
weapons and things?
Yeah. He was trained here in Ukraine.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you know what he did in civilian?
Okay, so he's been trained in Ukraine. He's been trained presumably by somebody who's been on the front line, somebody who knows what he's doing. So weapons training, tactics to a point. It's going to be fairly easy to deliver that with some credibility. But again, it's the hours spent in your first 6 weeks conditioning you into the way of a soldier. It's the repeated lessons. I bet he didn't go rifle lessons 1 through 20 odd. I bet he's had an AK shoved in his hands. He's been shown how to strip it down, assemble it, clean it, load it, make it ready, etc., etc., etc. But I bet he hasn't sort of like had many arranged day. I bet he hasn't been it's not enough, is what I'm trying to say. Not for me, anyway.
In life, what his job was?
He did not have a job. He had just finished his studies. He had turned 18.
Yeah.
In Ukraine. He came here
So he's come straight from school, basically. He's turned 18 years old and he's decided this is what he wants to do. Just very quickly in the background, you can see somebody there playing a computer game, probably Call of Duty or something like that. And it's pretty ironic for me, that.
1 week before turning 18.
Wow.
So he already made up his mind about coming here. When we were infilling into position, so this is 4 days prior to my own injury. Again, we were on the second trench, peninsula trench, all the way to the 0 line, and we had to cross that open field, 150, 200 meters, just completely open field, no trees, buildings, nothing. It's a rural field of nothingness. There's no cover or anything.
So let's talk about what their mission was. I think it was some sort of a resupply mission going onto the front line to take ammunition, etc., water, perhaps food. A mission that was on foot. So you couldn't presumably get vehicles down there, so they've had to take it over. They've had to cut across some open land. Now, the big threat, and it's known about there, is drones. There's a huge threat from drones. Open land in a conventional old-fashioned sense is dangerous enough, but now when you've got stuff that's been controlled from quite a distance away, which can appear at any time, That's a game changer. That's huge. That takes some consideration, and it puts a perspective onto the battlefield that I've not been up against before. Well, once I have in Ukraine itself, but that's a story for another day. It is, however, a consideration, and let's just see how this pans out.
It was 6 of us, and I was team leader there, and we were traversing in groups of 2.
So, team leader at 21 years old, he's leading a team of people on a resupply mission to the front line of 6 guys. Okay,
at a time, 20 meters apart. The 4 went ahead of us, and then we were the last 2. And I told them, I specifically told James, you can choose if you want to go in front of.
So they've got this open ground to span. Now they would know that the Russians are operating drones. They would also know that they operate them in sorties. Okay, there'll be a recce comes over. There'll be fighters. They'll be dropping, but they'll be doing all sorts from these drones. All right, there'll be stuff actually probably stood off filming it. All the nuts and bolts. The whole thing is an operation in its own. Okay, 6 guys with a mission to get down and resupply other people. It's a very, very, very dangerous job.
Me, and I'm the last man, or you go behind me.
Yeah.
And you're the last man. I gave him the option.
So they've got some knowledge. You know, they've put some spacing in between themselves. A 20-meter gap, I think, is what they've gone for. That's how they're running with it down there. No mention of anybody sort of like giving them some spotters and all that sort of stuff. But nobody keeping an eye out, nobody giving them an overwatch. They've just split themselves into 2 groups, and presumably one's gone through and one's gone second, one's trying to look out for the other one. Still a little bit sketchy for me. And don't forget, once these drones get over, they'll try and herd you into one position. They'll try and kill as many people as they can for as little effort. And that's the same with any sort of battle. But you know, these drones, they'll try and use them in such a way where they can get as many people as they can in the one hit. So spacings are absolutely imperative for the distance that they've got to get over.
He said, "I'll go in front of you." So I was the last man.
Right.
So
interestingly, they're going over as the last pair. He's the patrol commander. Okay, he's given young James the choice. Do you want to go first or do you want to go second? Which to me, I know what he's trying to do there. He's trying to sort of like, instill some confidence in him. There's just a lack of leadership there for me, and I don't want to speak ill, but for me, there's a lack of leadership there. You know, it's as if they didn't really 100% grasp what they were doing. Why are you at the last minute making decisions like that? It's not right to me. There would be a whole drill. There would be a rehearsed drill. There'd be an actions on. And this is where the experience and the foundation comes into play. All right?
So this was actually his very first mission.
Right.
Very first mission. And
so he died on his first mission.
Yeah. This war is extremely serious. You can die, and I've known of people that have died here 2 months into this country.
Mm-hmm. So what happened? So you were he was in front of you, and you.
So there you go. He sums up there. This war is an extremely serious, dire situation. It's dangerous. It's proper dangerous. It's double dangerous. All right. He realises that bit, doesn't he? And he recounts a tale of people dying 2 months into their rotation, or 2 months into the country. Right, he's going to talk us through events. He's going to talk us through exactly how things panned out. Let's have a listen to what he's got to say, and let's see what I think.
Yeah, the back.
Yeah, I was telling him 20 meters. We got about 20 meters, and he was scared. Obviously, I was scared too. Everyone is always scared, but I told him it's going to be okay. The days prior to this mission, he was. So
again, I'm not saying you wouldn't be scared. I'm not saying that it's not an extremely scary situation to find yourself in. But with the old adage from the #1 parachute training school, knowledge dispels fear, okay? And with the right training, with the right briefing, with the right rehearsal, it lowers that fear. It enables you to operate at a different level,
His anxiety was going up and up and up.
Yeah.
And I kept telling him, you don't have to do this, you don't have to do this. You know, you already traveled all the way here. You did more than most people have done.
Yeah.
But he said, no, I want to go because you're going to go. And I want to be with you. And I said, oh.
I mean, it sounds to me at 21 years old like this young man's making a lot of decisions for this, and there's no sort of like higher ranking authority. If he's telling him he can go if he wants to, doesn't have to. Who's he? Where's the boss? Where's the sort of like? Where's the senior person in charge of these people? Not saying that there isn't that, but it seems like he's got a lot of responsibility. This geezer here, a lot of responsibility.
Okay. He was in front of me 20 meters.
Yeah.
We had crossed halfway to the open field. We weren't running or anything. We were marching normally.
Yeah.
We had a lot of weight on us. I'd estimate about 60 or so kilo each.
60 kilos? 60, I doubt if he weighs 60 kilos. All right, so that's doubling your body weight. If what he says is right there, that's a lot of weight. That's a lot of weight for anybody to be carrying. All right, doesn't sound like the distance is tremendous, but it's a lot of weight. It's certainly enough to slow you down.
We had machine gun munition. We had about, I had at least 17 mags. He had, I know, about 15 mags. Yeah. And all the other supplies, water and things, because we were also refueling the trenches system with a bunch of food and whatever. We were about halfway through, and he stops. He just stops completely moving. Just freezes in the middle of the open field, and he stopped.
Okay, so there's no pre-planned drill for this. Now, I should imagine he stopped because he's seen or heard the drone. Presumably, he would now know or break into some sort of drill. That doesn't become apparent here. He freezes. He just stops. Boom. Fear, whatever, has had its part to play. But I would suggest that had they been briefed properly before they went, then they would have just broken into a drill at this stage, and it would have gone along the lines of something like making like a zigzag, perhaps dumping a load of that kit that you've got and making as much menace out of your run as you can to confuse this thing and make sure that nothing comes your way initially. All right? But he hasn't. He's just gone still. All right. So rather than hard targeting away, rather than dumping his kit to make it so that he can actually get a shift on, he's just frozen out in the open, which has got to be the worst thing to do, isn't it? It's got to be the worst thing to do. You've got a drone overhead. He's looking at you. It's possibly seen you and probably has seen you, and you've just gone dead on it.
So I didn't judge his judgment. So I stopped myself.
Yeah.
And I yell out to him. I say, why are you stopping?
Yeah.
And he's not responding to me. He's just completely frozen.
Again, he's frozen. Possibly some of you will be saying through fear, but he's frozen because he doesn't know what to do. He's not been told. This doesn't look like it's been thought out, rehearsed, or anything of that. It looks like they've gone, right, this is the mission, this is where we're going across. And all right, yeah, I'm not going to challenge the bravery and I'm not going to challenge his mettle, but the bare ass facts on this are something's gone wrong, something's happened that he's not comfortable about, and he's frozen in the middle of nowhere with lethal things flying up and above and around his head.
Like not responding. And then I hear it instantly. I just hear it.
See, I would have thought, as he says there, he hears it instantly. He's no stranger to drones. But again, he doesn't offer up a drone drill. There'd be one, wouldn't there?
I'm like, oh, that's why you're not moving. You're a drone. And I look around. I don't see anything for like a good 2 or 3 seconds, and then I see a light, and I think, oh, that's a drone. And I have been against drones before, and we're like...
So he knows about drones. He's been against drones before. What did you do last time, mate? How are you still here? You must have done something.
In the worst possible situation we could be.
In a
completely open field, nowhere to run.
That knows where you are.
Knows exactly where we are. Prior to traveling, the reason why we were going on 2-on-2, we were told via comms, there is no more friendly drones active. Any drone you see is enemy.
Yeah.
Okay, so they know. They've been told. They've been told enough to know that any drone in the sky is not going to be friendly. All right? So they know that.
So he freezes, and I tell him, I see a drone. We need to move.
Yeah.
And he's not responding to me. This is all.
So he knows that they need to move, right? He's now clicked to the fact that, you know, if you just stand still, you're inviting the inevitable, aren't you?
Transpiring in about 5 or 10 seconds.
Yeah.
I tell him, we need to move.
Yeah.
And the drone now hovers up above me about 20 or so meters.
Yeah.
Okay, so I reckon this first drone, bearing in mind that it doesn't take him straight on, is probably a reconnaissance. So that's now above them, all right? That's giving it a look. It's gone, right, there's two here. Oh, this one's still. So it's probably going to, it's going to focus its attentions on the guy at the front because he's the one that's rooted to the ground.
It's above me, and I can tell it's a drone.
Once they've identified that, back at wherever they're operating these drones from, now they can get some of the damaging type drones to come in and do what they do.
Drop drone. Because it's choosing, it's just like zeroing on me. And I look at it, and I'm like, oh, it's about to drop something. But then it stops hovering over me, and it goes to hover over him. And then
okay, so he actually identifies it as a drop drone. I suggest it might have dropped something earlier than what it did, but I wasn't there. But, you know, it's definitely making its mind up who's going to die and who's going to live. And if it can get them both together, then that's a double bonus for it.
And it kind of hovers in between us. And I'm thinking, he's choosing who to hit. He's choosing, he's trying to, because we're in the center, he's debating if we're going to run back to the second one or to the first trench line. So we have a crucial moment right here where he's choosing between either of us. And I tell him, I'm using his call sign, which was volcano. I'm telling him, like, volcano, there's a drone in front, there's a drone on top of us. He's choosing.
So they've gone to the effort of giving each other volcano call signs or whatever it is. I know he calls him Volcano. Why he doesn't use his name, I don't know. Or why he hasn't got a... I don't know. I don't understand this call sign thing at all. It's beyond me. Anyway, he's calling him by his call sign again. All right? You're trying to get somebody under pressure to do something. I think you're better off using his first name. I think you're better off actually yelling at him, James, sort yourself out. Not Volcano. That's the last thing he's going through his mind. It's a volcano, isn't it?
You have to move. Mm-hmm. And then he reacts a little bit, and he goes on his knee. I tell him, and then another drone appears. Now there's two drones. So there's...
He goes on his knee. You know, rather than thinking, let's get myself out of the way of this, and there's not far to go. I think they've only got 30 metres to make the other trench line, and then they can get themselves under a bit of hard cover. Rather than, you know, taking a zigzag path, dropping your kit, running as fast as you can, do you know what I mean? Getting yourself out of the way of this thing with the greatest speed you've ever mustered in your life. He drops to one knee. Probably the worst thing he could have done at that stage.
The choice of option is gone. I tell him I see another drone.
So here we go. Now they've been pinged. Now they're talking back at wherever they're operating these drones from. Yeah, they've gone firm. Bring in another one. It's exactly what they've done, isn't it?
And he's not reacting. So I take the safety off of my Kalashnikov.
Interestingly enough here, so he's walked into a hostile area in the open. He hasn't even had the safety catch off on his weapon. I mean, I'm not saying he's got to march across there with his finger on the trigger because that would be stupidly dangerous. But, you know, he's taking the safety off. I bet he hasn't even made it ready.
I clock it, like, really loud.
He makes it ready. You're already on the battlefield, you lunatic. You're already where you've deemed as a dangerous place, and you've not even made your weapon ready. Now, that, to me, just rings volumes and volumes and volumes of inexperience. All right? Like I said, I'm not, you know, if you want to keep your safety catch on because it's not, you know, deemed as dangerous as it could be if you're not actually fine. But you'd be made ready, wouldn't you? You would be made ready. Tell me if I'm wrong, please, in the comments below. If I'm completely missing the point here, right? Tell me I'm wrong. But for me, I'd be made ready. 100% I would be.
It's just loud in general. And I tell him, James, you better move because we're going to die. And I tell him, I'm going to start shooting. And he reacts. He says, he gets up. He says, I'm going to run. I tell him, okay. Okay, you start running, but if you feel it's too heavy, just drop your bag. And he doesn't hear that because this is...
So he's describing it like a bit of a conversation's gone on here. He needed to have been yelling, didn't he? Move, move, move. Drop your kit, move, move. Probably telling the story in a way that the journalists can understand it. But, you know, for real, when they were out there, that should have been getting screamed across at him.
This is not happening as I'm telling you. This is happening like 5-10 seconds. Just
Not to mention the fact that any action like this should have been rehearsed, pre-planned. He should have known what he was doing. And then the body snaps, bang, straight into that drill.
Decisions are coming fast. He starts sprinting. And I quickly start sprinting behind him. And there's two drills just hovering above us. just following us. Of course, the drones are way faster than us because we have all this weight on us.
Yeah.
And then there's 3 drones on top of us.
3?
Now there's 3.
Of course, the drones are faster than us because we have all this weight on us. It'd have been on a release cord for me, do you know what I mean? It would have been coming off quicker than it went on, put it that way, do you know what I mean? And I would have been bomb bursting all over the place to get away from those drones, do you know what I mean? Until I could get myself under hard cover. They weren't far from hard cover.
I can hear and see 3, and we're running and running. And because I was extremely physically able and fast and strong back then, I'm running way faster than he is.
Yeah.
So we're slowly 20 meters, 15 meters, 10 meters, just a point where we're about 5 meters apart. And there's a moment where I cognitively make the decision to make myself run slower, putting my own life at risk because I'm getting way too close to him. And I keep screaming at him, drop your bag, but he's just running.
Why? Why don't you just branch out left or right, keep going in the same direction? Why have you decided to slow down? Why are you not going past in a wider berth?
Just running, which I don't blame him. He got scared, but he actually acted. So we're about 5 meters close. I think I'm way too close to him. I back.
Again, he's acknowledged now that he's not dropped his bag. This should have been a drill. This should have been instilled into him. If that's going to be your drill, and it would have been, I'll tell you, it would have been mine. That bag would have been gone. You know, you can retrieve a bag later on. You're in between 2 sets of your own lines, all right? The bag can be retrieved, all right? You can go back and get that.
Away. So now we're about 7 or so meters away.
Is that because if you're together, the drone can get the 2 of you?
Yeah, it's easy. They want us to get together.
Yeah.
It's easier. They save munition and it's easy kill. So when I make the cognitive decision to back away.
So he knows how these drones operate, all right?
Yeah.
And I'm about 7 or 8 meters away from him.
Yeah.
We're 30 meters away from the trench line. We're right there. We're like 5 seconds. And then I just see it like, zoop, FPV drone.
You flew into him?
Right into him. On his left side. It blew up on his left side, and he flew to the right. I remember I ran.
So this FPV drone presumably was different to one of the first ones that tipped up. This one's gone straight into the side of him and taken him out. Again, by the time that's been brought in onto the battlefield, or by the time it's been brought out of the sortie to do its job, all the time they've spent taking a knee, standing at each other, you know, not moving, they didn't have far. This is tragic. It's absolutely tragic that they weren't drilled and drilled hard to just dump that kit and go for it. Do you know what I mean? And go for it in a zigzag pattern where a drone, even a skilled drone operator is going to go, where are they going? Where are they going? Where are they going? Do you know what I mean? Which way? Any element of doubt that you can feed that drone operator. You've just got to make it to safety. You've just got to make it underneath some hard cover. You know where that hard cover is. You're going into an area which is yours. You're going into an area which you understand, you know, and have got no restrictions to you. You're not going to get stopped getting in that trench, all right? So in that respect, it's a good day for you, all right? It's not a good day if you decide to go firm and stop in the middle of this when it all goes noisy.
And this whole time I was calling him by his call sign, Volcano. But when he got hit, I just yelled out, James.
Yeah.
He fell on the open field. I ran.
So why couldn't you have called him James in the first place? Why couldn't you have just screamed at him James in the first place to get him moving?
And I screamed at him, are you okay? Do you need a tourniquet? That's the first thing I said.
Yeah.
I passed by him. And as I passed by him, I just see.
I mean, he does go over to try and help his mate, which is admirable. Do you know what I mean? He doesn't just save his own skin. He does go and try and help his mate. I'll give him that, all right? You know, but I think when he gets there, he realises that it's not too much to be had.
Him face down on the floor, and I just think, oh, so I just ran right up to him. So now I'm on top of him, and I grab him. I tell him, it's okay, we're right there. I'm right here. I grab him, and then I look at his body. All of his left side is just this charred. He's got wounds. He's got open wounds in his face, and his hand, and his chest.
So he knows he's in a bad way from the minute he gets over there.
In his rib cage, in his thigh, in his leg. I look at him. I think, oh, he can't respond to me. He's choking. He can't say anything. He's compulsing. And I say, it's okay. We're right there. Look, I'm gonna drag you. Tomorrow you go home. It's fine. We're right there.
Yeah.
I grab him. I bend down to grab him. And as I'm bending down to grab him, here comes the other drone.
Oh.
And it's right 10 meters above my head. And I close my eyes and I think, oh,
This drone, I think, was probably assessing the damage that the other one's done. I don't think this drone was an unfriendly one. I think it's come to make an assessment of what damage has been done.
I'm gonna die.
Yeah.
And I think that's okay.
Oh, that's a pretty horrible moment. He must have genuinely thought he was going to get some when the second drone comes above. Must have genuinely thought that. What a horrible moment, an absolute horrible moment.
I'm right here with my brother.
Resigned
okay.
to it, yeah.
That's okay. I can die. I close my eyes. I'm just holding on to my friend. It's above my head for a good 5 or so seconds, just hovering. And then after 5 seconds, it just leaves. And I open my eyes and I don't have time to think about it. I open my eyes and I say, okay, let's go. And I look down at my friend and he's dead.
You knew he was dead at that point.
He was completely unresponsive. Just dead. No more breathing, anything. I drop him and I say, I'm sorry, brother. I'm going to come right back for you. And I run into position. And I couldn't get out because one of my squad mates, he looks at me and he says, what are you doing out there? There's too many drones. You shouldn't be out there. And then I just said, I'm going to go back. He's like, you can't go back. 20 minutes.
So his mate realises that there's too many drones out there, they shouldn't be out there. What happened to the people that were in the trench that were seeing these people come over? Presumably somebody would have been on stag and gone, yeah, bit too tricky now, lads, do you know what I mean? Because these drones can't stay in the air forever, all right? Once they turn up, you could argue, right, you got caught out. But then you've got to think to yourself, well, you know, there should be some sort of lookout. There should be some sort of, you know, drone surveillance even. I don't know, but you should at least be going, right, is the coast clear? It doesn't sound to me like too much of this has gone on, if I'm honest, all right? Now, correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm sure there'll be plenty of angry comments below telling me they've done this and done that and done the other. It's not coming across to me right now, so please do leave your comments if I'm wrong.
Minutes pass, and we go back to retrieve my friend's corpse.
Let's summarise this then. Tragically, a young man has lost his life. He's gone out there for whatever reason, and in his own mind, as said in the interview, he's decided that that was the right thing for him to do. I can't argue with him. That's what he wanted to do. But I can't alliterate enough that is an extremely dangerous place to be. You're not playing for keeps. This is all done for real. It's a battlefield. And the more you can do in terms of training, in terms of drills, in terms of recce, in terms of understanding, in terms of a plethora of things, the better. And it just seems to me like with very little experience, 4 months in country, he's been put in a situation where he didn't really understand and has suddenly realised exactly what is going on. And because of lack of training and the fact that he didn't have the right drills in place, he's lost his life. He's lost his life. Unnecessarily lost his life, I would say as well. You know, I'm not gonna call him for, you know, it's difficult for me to say that he was inexperienced. It's difficult for me to try and, you know, highlight the faults, etc. But if you don't address the faults, if you don't debrief it, if you don't understand what you're getting yourself into, and if you don't prepare properly, the results can be catastrophic. And I feel really sorry that this has happened. It's a proper shame. It's tragic, you know. And as you saw in that video there, lots of young men wandering around with bits missing, and they've all been in similar situations. I think they've all rushed onto the battlefield. They've all, you know, probably not received the training that they could have done, and all left themselves in a position where they've been wide open to a force that ultimately are getting better at what they do, and using kit, which is, you know, only one word describes it, futuristic. It's a different battlefield out there. It really is. And in a lot of respects, it's a lot more dangerous than it used to be.